My name is Teresa Santa Lucia, and today is February 29th, 2020. This year is Hanson's 200th anniversary, and as part of the celebration of Hanson, the Hanson Historical Commission has asked several of our Hanson residents to share with us oral histories about their time here in Hanson. And today I have the pleasure of speaking with Jean F. Croghan, and I'm very happy to have you here with me today. So thank you for spending the time.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So Jean, if you could just tell us when and where you were born.
I was born in Boston, and we lived in Boston until the late 30s. And
when were you born? What year were you born?
1928, 29. 29.
Okay. Can you give me your parents' names?
My mother's name was Margaret, and her maiden name was Margaret Healy, H-E-A-L-Y. My father was Theodore Harrington.
Harrington.
And they met and married and had 8 children.
And now where were your parents from?
Actually, as far as I know, the Boston area.
Boston area.
Natural born citizens, and my mother would be in the Roslindale area, and my father, I believe, came from South Boston.
Okay.
So.
And they had 8 children. What were their names, and where do you fall in the birth order?
I'm the 3rd child. I had 2 older brothers. My brother Ted, he died in the war.
I'm so sorry.
Then came my brother James. He died also. I'm wrong on that. Jim was the one who died, not Ted. He died in Korea, the battle there. He had done his time in the service. Back after the end of World War II, the president made it a law that young men 18 should join for 2 years. I don't know how long that lasted, but they did. The young men had to go in the Army or Navy or whatever service they chose for 2 years. And I believe that was when Red went in. He was a redhead, so we called him Red, even though his name was James. He was a junior in college, as I recall, but there was a war going over in the Pacific, one of those islands at the time, and he was called over there, and he died over there, unfortunately. And after Jim came myself, then my brother Bill, my sister Rose, my brother Paul, my brother Jack, and the baby is my sister Mary.
Okay.
There were 8 of us.
8. Now, you were all born in Boston?
I believe so. Yes.
And at what point did you move to Hanson?
We first lived over in Marshfield.
Okay.
And did we spend a couple of years? We were there for 3 years. I was in the 5th grade to the 7th over there, 5, 6, 7, and came to Hanson in my 7th grade year. That's, as far as the actual year, 19, whatever it was, I don't know for sure.
And why did your parents move to Hanson? Did you remember that, or did you ever
No,
learn?
I was probably too young.
Yeah.
To really know why,
What kind of work did your parents have?
My father was a salesman, mother was a stay-at-home mom with 8 children. She was busy enough.
She was.
And we lived in Montponset.
Do you remember the street name and the address of the home?
In Montponset? Yes, it was 947 Montponset Street in Montponset, the Hanson part. Montponset encompassed part of Halifax as well.
Okay.
And the church that we attended was in Halifax. It was over the town line, but it was less than a mile from home.
What church was that?
Our Lady of the Lake in Montponset. And I was married in that church as well.
Nice.
Received probably confirmation and all the usual Catholic teachings. And
now, when you came and you were in 7th grade, what schools did you attend?
In Hanson, first we were at the L.Z. Thomas, and I graduated from there. And then on to Whitman High School. And I didn't go to college.
Okay.
I went to work in Boston.
Oh, so
I had a job at my senior year of high school at one of the offices of a shoe factory that was down near the railroad station in Whitman. I can't remember the name of it, but they wanted me very much after graduation to come to work with them. But my mother said, no, you go into Boston and get a job. So I did, in the insurance district, and worked 5 years in town, and I enjoyed that.
Now, how did you get in and out of Boston?
By train.
And did you take the train out of Whitman?
Yes, no, from Montponset. In those days, there was a station there.
Really?
No more. The building that was the station is gone and everything, but I lived right down the street from there. I'd walk up, catch the train to Boston, commuted in and out until my father must have gotten a car at some point, and I would ride in with him every day. And I think the Southeast Expressway came along sometime toward the end of my working years, because I got married, but then we found out what it was to be caught in traffic.
So you worked in Boston for 5 years in the insurance industry?
Yes, yes, I did.
And at what point did you get married?
At what point? I just know I was 22 years old, 22 or 23. And the babies came right along.
How did you meet your husband?
He lived down the street from me in Montponset. My younger sister, Rose, would be talking to me and say, oh, there's one handsome guy down the street. Ooh, Well, I was busy walking back and forth. I was busy with my life, but she got me curious, so I walked down the street with her as well. And I had to agree with her. Eventually, I don't know how it happened that I got asked out on a date, but I did, and eventually married the man.
And what was the man's name?
Oh, Stephen Croghan.
Stephen Croghan.
And we were married a good many years. He did pass away when he was, I'm trying to think how old Steve was. He wasn't as old as, I think 59 is coming to my mind. And he worked very, very hard. Yeah. Taking care of all of us. So.
And you and Stephen had children?
Yes, we had 8 children.
You had 8 children as well?
Yes, yes.
And what are their names?
Oh, golly, my oldest is with me, Mary. She's the firstborn. And then there was Ginny. She became a nurse, but she passed away, Ginny did. And then there's Anne. She married a classmate of hers from high school, and they had 5 or 6 children, 6, I believe. After Anne came, I should have this right at the tip of my tongue. I'm having a little memory lapse here.
That's okay.
Sorry. I just can't think of it right now.
That's okay.
I'm nervous. Can this be?
Sure.
I wish Mary were in here. She'd be my support.
That's all right. So you had 8 children.
Yes.
I imagine
then came Stephen, Patrick, and Robert.
Stephen, Patrick,
came
and
next.
Robert.
Yeah. Then after Robert came Marge and Matthew, and I don't know if that's 8 or not.
That's 8. I think that's 8. I've been counting on my fingers.
Oh, okay.
So. And I imagine you have grandchildren as well.
Oh, I do, and I can't give you all their names
at all.
Okay. I won't even try. Yes, I do.
And you have several of your children that live nearby, is that?
Yes. Mary that's with me lives on Long Island. And she's my vacation area. I go down to visit her when I can. She has she runs a secretarial business down there, and she's successful.
Good.
She would have been she's the first child, and next would have been Jenny. She was an RN, but she's gone. I'm trying to think.
Stephen lives in Hanson.
Stephen lives in Hanson.
I've served on the Agricultural Commission with him.
Oh,
so I know
then
him.
You know Stephen.
Yes.
And Patrick is he's a carpenter too, right now he's working at South Shore Hospital, and from what he tells me, he'll be there forever.
That's wonderful.
Which is, in a way, it's a good thing because it's inside work. And who else? Bobby, he's passed away. Matthew passed away. 3 of my children, they went ahead to prepare for me. Ginny being the first one, and 2 of the boys. So
now, in terms of your time here with your children in Hanson, did they go through the Hanson schools as well?
Stephen didn't. Stephen went to an agricultural school over in Walpole, I think, his high school years. And truthfully, I think the men there fathered him very well. He's a fine man. His own father had a weakness that he had for most of his life, and he died young. My husband did. And Patrick, well, he just kind of did the same. He's a good father and husband, and they live in Hanson, raised their family there as well. So.
Do you have some memories that you'd like to share of your time in Hanson with your young family? Things that you might have done as a family? Some people have mentioned.
We'd go camping. We'd
great.
go camping down by the canal, it seems to me. We didn't always have a good sight, but it was always fun.
Yeah.
It was always fun. And we didn't travel far. I usually drove old cars, and we didn't want to go too far.
Yeah.
So if we went camping, we camped in local areas. And that was about it for vacations. With large families, you don't have extra money.
Right.
We learned to make do, go on picnics, and we'd take rides, sometimes just drive, and spend a night at a campground elsewhere, and the kids loved it. They would swim and have fun playing games together, and we'd move on again.
I think I didn't ask, but where did you, after you were married and you had children, where did you make your home in Hanson?
When I was first married, I lived in town. We moved in town, had an apartment. And I got pregnant right away. We're in a 1-room apartment. So it was back to Hanson within a year. My first daughter was born, Mary. She's the one that's with me, 9 months and 2 days after I was married, and I thanked God for those 2 days. I hate to say that, but it was just, that's just the way it was, and they just kept coming. I had 8 children.
And where was the house that you moved back to in Hanson?
Where did we? I think we lived with Steve's mother for a while, and from there, that wasn't working out well. I think it was hard for her. We rented a house down there in the Montponset area, and eventually bought the house and lived there until, I guess maybe we babied ourselves out.
Yeah.
We sold that house and moved to the one I'm in today.
And where is that?
On Main Street in Hanson.
Okay.
And it was a good place to bring up the children.
What number house is that?
638.
638 Main.
There are a lot of woods behind, and behind the woods are bogs. And I didn't like the kids going down to the bogs much, but they would.
Yeah.
In the winter, when they'd flood the bogs, they were good for ice skating on. And there's ponds around Hanson for swimming. In the summer, we'd have the ponds to go to.
Which pond was one of your favorites?
Well, we used to go up to Camp Kewanee.
Yeah.
In those days, it was very easy. You just went in, parked, and went swimming. And now it's been upgraded, and it's different. I don't go there anymore. It's overcrowded now, and it's just different.
Yeah.
It's more of a business now than it was then. It was just kind of open to everybody, and go in and have fun, and we did. They did. The children did, and I did too, because they were having fun.
Yeah.
And we didn't go to the seashore that often. We did occasionally go into the salt water, but mostly it was local.
Were your children involved in things growing up, such as sports or 4-H or other activities like that?
My oldest son, Stephen, he's a fine man today, but gray hair. Oh, he would go out in the morning at 10 years old, and I wouldn't see him. And I can remember one day, I took the car, and I was coming down Main Street. I was speeding because I had to get home because the young family was there. I couldn't find Stephen. I had been looking everywhere for him. I got stopped by the police for speeding. And when I explained my situation, why I was speeding, I wanted to get home to the kids that I had left unattended, he let me go. He said, well, just keep it down, keep it down. Yeah, Stephen was a challenge, but he became a fine man. Yeah. I'm very proud of my sons. They're good men. Yeah. I'm very proud of them.
Now, living in Hanson so long, do you have any favorite spots in Hanson that you like to, that you have memories of or visit?
Well, of course, I go to church every Sunday, and the people there, I like that.
And which church do you go to? Do you still go to Silver Lake? Or?
No, I go right down Main Street, down by the railroad station. It's a Baptist church that I attend. Okay. And it's an old, I think it was a daycare center at one point, the building. And that's where I go today, although I was born and raised.
Is that the Calvary Baptist Church, or?
I don't know if it is. It could be.
Yeah.
Could be. Pastor Mike Fernandez is the pastor. Yeah. And I won't say too much. At first, when Patrick and Joanne, they lost their daughter, Pastor ministered to them, and they began to go to the church, but I was a staunch Catholic. And I didn't like that. And I wanted to tell him so, which I never did because I went and heard him. And he teaches the word of the Lord, and by golly, I liked it very much, and I'm part of his ministry now, or his congregation, that's the word. And every week I'm fed very generously the word of the Lord. And so that's where I go to church, on Main Street.
Great.
As it happens.
And what other places in Hanson do you enjoy, or have you enjoyed visiting? You know, if you were to tell somebody about Hanson, and you were to tell them about some of the best places in Hanson, what would those be?
Well,
you've already talked about Camp Kewanee as being one.
Yes. And I have to include the Montponset area.
Of course,
because
absolutely.
That's where I grew up down there. But I go for breakfast once a week to the little Montponset Inn. It used to be, but the inn part is gone. And it's very nice, right on the edge of the lake there. Have breakfast there.
That's now the Lakeside Inn, or Villa, right?
Maybe, yes, could be.
The Hanson 200th anniversary kickoff event was held there recently, and it was beautiful.
Good. I missed that, too. I read about it in the paper. I would love to have gone to that. It's a nice place. And I go there once a week for breakfast with some girls from Hanson. Where else? I don't eat out an awful lot. Having had 8 children, you eat at home. It's too expensive to eat out. But where else do I go? I go down to Bryanfield. There's a little place there that I often go for lunch every day. It's right at the intersection down there of the little restaurant.
Fork in the Road, is that the one?
Yes, I think it is. It's across from Dr. Angley's old house.
Yes.
That's all I can think of.
Now, did you use Dr. Angley? Was he your children's doctor?
Oh, yes, yes.
You know, I think you're the first person to mention Dr. Angley. He was, when I was a child, he was my doctor.
I went down there with my brother Paul, I think it was. My mother was not feeling well, and Paul had a problem, and I brought him down to Dr. Angley. And Dr. Angley said, go in, he gave him a cup. I want to test your urine The bathroom's right there. So Paul was about 10 years old, and he went. He's in there, and I'm talking to Dr. Angley, and he finally said, "What's keeping you?" Because 5 minutes had gone by, and Paul says, "I don't hear anything." He thought he said, "I want to test your hearing."
Oh.
So we both laughed about that, Dr. Angley.
And Dr. Angley was a real old-time community doctor. He had his office right in his house, right in the corner of Bryantville.
That's right, yep.
And
yep.
At one point...
It was funny, there were two doctors, because Dr. Breel was on the other corner.
Oh, really?
Yes, and my mother went to him. But I liked Dr. Breel, Dr. Angley.
Mm-hmm.
He was a good guy. He was, but that was funny. We both had a belly laugh about that.
Mm-hmm.
When the response from Paul, he was about 10 years old, "I don't hear anything. I want to test your urine," Dr. Angley had said. So that was just a funny little happening. And that was my brother Paul. It wasn't one of my children. That was my younger brother. I was one of 8 myself growing up, so I was kind of used to the crowd.
Were there ever Hanson events that you enjoyed going to, such as parades or other community events where you felt like you got a chance to meet
I always
others?
liked town meeting. I never missed that.
What did you like about town meeting?
I just like to be there and see people and hear what's happening and so on and so forth. And plus I felt as though it's my opportunity to be heard if I wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I like the town meeting form of government.
Do you think, some people think that the town meeting format is antiquated. It's, our town has grown too big for that. What would you say to that?
No, I like it just the way it is. It gets things done.
Mm-hmm.
It does. You have your pros and your cons, and that's home rule as far as I'm concerned. I like it very much. And I guess that's about it.
Were there other opportunities? The town meeting is a great one. I think you're the first person that I've interviewed that has actually brought up town meeting, but other opportunities that you had in Hanson to meet up with other friends and neighbors?
Well, I suppose having as many children as I did, it would be at school, meetings at school, and that. And I never really had a problem with the children to speak of. Nothing serious anyhow. They were all good kids, and they became good adults as well.
Do you know any history about the house that you live in?
Not really, and it is an old house.
Old house, right?
It is an old house. My daughter looked up at the town hall, Mary, the one that's with me today, and we have a little, with the year, 18 something, and I'm not sure exactly when that is. 18, I could ask her.
But it was built before you moved into it, your family moved into it.
Yes, it was very old. It had a well in the basement, which is still there today. We keep a pump there so that it won't fill and overflow into the basement, because we had a furnace put in down there. There wasn't one in the house when we moved in, and it was the time of year when the well was very low.
And it was a well that people would use to actually draw water?
That was the water supply.
Really?
And I went in with 6 children, eventually had 8. I went to, I don't know who the person in town in charge of the water department, but I went to have town water put in because the well went dry in a few days. I had to have water. And I was told they'd put me on a list. I couldn't go on a list. I needed the water soon. So I went to the town clerk, and he was an older gent. I can't think of his name. He was wonderful. He said, "Don't worry about it, Mrs. Croghan. I will speak for you," and he did. And the water department was down the next day, brought town water in. So I appreciated that act of kindness by that gentleman. He was an older man. Your parents would know. I can't think of his name now, but forever grateful to him because he saved the day. I think I had 6 children when I went into that house, and we had 2 more. But we needed to have water.
Yeah.
And we got it.
Yeah.
I was very grateful for that. Very grateful. And I think I've been happy there. The house is set back from the street, and we used to have a fence at the end of the front walk, which went, we have a circular driveway. The walk went this far, but the street was at the other end of the other side of the driveway. The children couldn't go past here, and which was good. We had a little fence for that. So I never had an issue with that. As the traffic increased, as the years went by.
Main Street traffic has definitely increased over the years.
That's right.
It?
And as they grew older, then it was easier because they knew that the backyard was where they belonged, and that's where they mostly stayed. And we'd go to Camp Kiwanee, to the beach in the summer, and would bring a picnic lunch and spend hours up there.
Yeah.
And that's changed too. It's become commercialized now, I think. It's not like it used to be at all. So I don't go up there anymore. I don't have children either anymore. Grandchildren, yes. And a couple of great-grands as well.
You have some great-grandchildren?
Yes, I do have, yep.
That's wonderful. Do you remember a time when Hanson made the news? Do you remember any sort of memorable moments of Hanson that
No, not especially. I think I was probably involved with my own family, and I can't think of anything right now. My sister Rose, I wish she was with me. She would like to have come. She lives in Quincy, and she'd been down during the week, but she went home. She's got a better memory than I do. When we were kids, living as we did in the Montponset area of Hanson, we attended the Catholic Church there, and they'd have a carnival every summer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Can you tell me about that?
Oh, yeah. It was great. They'd be there for a whole week.
Who would put on the carnival? The church?
The
or?
church.
The church.
It was evidently a fundraiser. In the parking lot where everybody parks their car, that's where they'd set up the carnival, and it came once a year. I don't know when it stopped, but it did. Yeah, that was great fun to do that. And in the summer, we swam in those lakes. That was fun. And there was a movie theater there, too, but it wasn't in Hanson, but it was right on the water in Montponset. We always...
Was it an outdoor movie theater or an indoor movie theater?
No, it was a movie. The building is not there, but the front part was left standing. The building went right to water's edge. And there were movies every week. We'd go. I don't think it went in the winter for some reason. Montponset was more of a summer area down there by the lake.
Yep.
Now all those homes have been winterized, and people live. It's completely different than when I was a kid down there.
So now you lived there in Montponset year-round, and so
Yes.
Can you tell me the difference between the summer months and the winter months when you lived down there?
Oh, it was so different. In the winter, there weren't that many year-round residents there because it was strictly a summer resort. However, the church, we were born and raised Catholics, was right down the street. And the church was full in the summer and not so full in the winter. It's kind of funny.
And when people came during the summer, I imagine they came year after year. So did you make friends with people?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yeah, the same ones would come to their cottage.
Yep.
And we'd look forward to that. In fact, I made a very close friend with a girl. Phyllis Webster was her name. We were in each other's weddings. She came from Boston, her family, for the summer. And after I was out of high school, working in Boston, I'd often stay at her home in Boston. And we'd go in town and to the movies or what have you. But yeah, it was a very popular summer resort area where we lived. But then they became year-round homes, and I don't know anybody anymore down there.
Yeah.
Really.
That's something that's come up too, that a lot of residents who've lived here their whole lives have said that when they were growing up, that there was a sense of knowing your neighbors more than there is today.
I feel guilty about that, even as just mentioning it. I had a new family move in, both sides of me. And I don't know if it's me or what. It probably is me. I should be the one. The first family that moved in, they built a beautiful home, came over first with a nice big cake in a box, which blew me away somewhat. And I think I went back over with cookies a week or two later. And then back over came the husband again with another big coffee ring. It was delicious, but I haven't responded.
Yeah.
I think they work. They both work. I don't want to be a Badinsky.
Yeah.
And on the other side of me, my daughter bought that house, and she rents it out. The daughter that's with me today, she rents that house. It's a young mother with one child, and I haven't ventured over, and I should. I just feel a little bit shy. I don't want to be a Badinsky, but maybe she's waiting. I don't know. Sometimes I don't know the right thing to do, and I don't want to push myself on people. But the woman on that side seems to be alone with the one daughter. She looks around 10 or 11 years old. But they haven't been there too long. It's never too late.
It's never too late.
To make the move.
Right.
So
that's
just
right.
Talking about it, I'll do something.
I can think of a few new people who've moved in near me where I need to do that as well.
Yeah, I just feel a little shy. I don't want to be pushy. But on the other hand, neither do I want to seem as though I don't care to be friendly.
Yeah.
So just talking about it, I'm going to do something.
That's great. That's great. Do you have any other memories of Hanson that you'd like to share, or your time here in Hanson? That you think are?
I don't know if I have any notations here about anything. Let me see if I can.
Looks like you have some notes there.
Yeah. I went through this little questionnaire. Oh, I was the first woman to run for selectman.
What?
I ran. I
have
lost.
Absolutely.
But the fact that I did gave the next woman the courage to run, and she won.
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
what year
I
was
think
that? Do you
I
remember
broke
what
the
year
ace.
you
No, I
ran?
don't remember the year. But I figured that's a job I could do at night, and blah, 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 with all the children.
So you had 8 children, and you
Yes.
ran for select
I
woman.
did, yeah. I figured that's one night a week. It's much more than that.
Well, thank you for running.
Yeah, I did. I broke the ice. I'm trying to think who it was that promptly jumped right on it the next time the election came up. She ran and she won.
And she was the first woman to actually be elected.
Yes, she was. She was.
Have you run for any other offices in town or served on other committees?
No, I really haven't. I've been busy enough.
Yeah.
I worked part-time at the Hanson post office, and that was helpful. I subbed for a man named Frank Rumrell. And eventually when he retired, I bit the root and got a full-time job. And that pension from that job is what basically supports me today.
Mm-hmm. So how long were you a mail carrier for?
I was able to take credit for all those part-time years,
yeah.
but I think it was somewhere around 30 years.
Wow.
Wow. It was great.
Yeah.
My first 3 children were girls, and that one out in the lobby now, she was the first. She lives in New York now.
Yeah.
But anyway, they were very helpful when I had to. The man I subbed for would always take school vacations. I'd have to work, but we needed the money.
Right.
So it affected them, mm-hmm. but not in a bad way. Actually, they learned responsibility. Mm-hmm. Mary runs her own business now down in Long Island. And Ginny, my second daughter, was a nurse. Mm-hmm. And Anne, well, she married young and they have a wonderful family, she and Frank. But those 3 girls were wonderful help during those years mm-hmm. that I was working at the post office. That's, I guess that's about it. As far as I think that job I had at the post office mm-hmm. supports me today, the pension from it.
Yeah.
It was good. I was able to, because I was out on the road, I was able to pop in, check on things, and get back to work. Mm-hmm. And in the early years, because children grow,
right.
They mature. Yeah. My first 3 were girls, and that was a blessing. The next 3 were boys. That was a blessing too.
A different kind of
blessing. Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys.
Well, again, this is our 200th anniversary, and we have a bunch of different events this year to celebrate that. What would you hope for Hanson in the future?
Oh, what do I hope for Hanson in the future? Well, I hope it doesn't lose its character of the small town. Mm-hmm. I live on Main Street, and I see traffic increasing, mm-hmm. which that's part of progress. Also, I recently heard they're going to convert the old cranberry factory mm-hmm. into a low-income housing, which I think is very, very bad judgment with the train tracks right behind the building like that. I just don't think that's an appropriate use for that building, because low-income people usually have children. Mm-hmm. It's no place for children. So
thinking responsibly about where
if they
housing should be.
I would think they'd find a better location than right beside the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
They're not going to move the railroad tracks. But anyway, we'll see what happens. Mm-hmm. I guess it's been approved by our selectmen, and we'll see what happens.
So it sounds like you still stay active in keeping up with things in the town, is that?
No, not as much as I probably could and should, but that's down the street from me. But it's a good mile away, but I just felt as though that's nothing
something
I would
that you were
vote
paying
for.
attention to.
Because of low income usually involve children, mm-hmm. most often. With those tracks running right behind that building, it's nowhere for children to be, my opinion on that, and I'll say no more.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you, very kind.
I really appreciate your taking the time and coming in and sharing with us some of your thoughts about Hanson.
I must add, I've enjoyed raising my own family in this town. Mm-hmm. I really have. I like the town, and I'll probably spend the rest of my life here. I like the town very much.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome, dear. Thank you.